Hi, and welcome to my channel, Laura's Library Card. So I have DNF'd 6 books in the first half of 2020, and I'm going to tell you about them in a second. But first, I just wanted to say that for me personally, I sometimes hard DNF something, and then other times I kind of just pause a title or something I might come back to for a bit. But I think that there's one on this list that I might come back to, but for the most part, these are ones that I have zero intention of ever returning to. So let's just dive right into that list. The first title that I'm going to talk about is Cocky Bastard by Penelope Ward. I had the ebook of this and I DNF'd at 12%. The premise that I read was that Aubrey is our main female character and she is traveling across the country. I think she's moving across the country, and she, at a rest stop, picks up this Australian guy who is going to travel with her. He has car trouble or something. She's traveling across America and picks up this Australian guy at a rest stop. And that's pretty much as far as I made it. I did not really care for the writing style for this book. Aubrey as a character seemed kind of like a pushover, and I know that this was the premise, but it seems sort of like she was making stupid decisions with agreeing to give this guy a ride. And then Chance is the main male character, and he felt pushy and kind of wild and chaotic. He calls her a bitch and he makes fun of her when they like don't even know each other. So I assume there was time for him to redeem himself, but I just really was not feeling the main male character or the setup, and it wasn't doing it for me. So DNF at 12%. The second title I made quite a bit farther, but this was Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover, and I had the Kindle Unlimited title and I DNF'd it at 63%. So the premise for this is the main female character, Kenna, is out of prison after serving a 5-year sentence. She was driving under the influence and got into a car accident and killed her boyfriend. And so she is now in town trying to reunite with her young daughter and sort of starts a relationship with her dead boyfriend's best friend, Ledger. Ledger is drawn to Kenna and he is very conflicted about all of the emotions and the tough situations that are happening surrounding her wanting to reunite with her daughter. This was a Sugar and Spice Book Club choice, and that's why I picked it up. And while I was reading, I just sort of, the writing style constantly felt to me like there was a big reveal coming anytime you could turn the page, and the reveal was going to happen. And then at 63%, there was no reveal that had happened at this point. So I felt that that was an annoying emotion for me to keep experiencing. And then it's told in multiple points of view, and I found Kenna's point of view to be really kind of distant and disconnected for me versus, I guess, in comparison to Ledger's more visceral and present point of view. I did like that there was the inclusion of some tough choices by multiple characters happening because it's definitely a complicated situation, but I just didn't really care about the characters or what was going on. It was reading really quickly, but I just didn't care about the characters, and at one point I set it down, realized almost a week later that I had never finished that book and during that entire time I had not wanted to pick it up at all. So I just kind of said, not going to finish it. DNF 63%. The next title I'm going to talk about is A Not So Meet Cute by Meghan Quinn. I also had this on Kindle Unlimited and DNF'd at 20%. Our main female character is Lottie. She is working a job that she doesn't want, and her boss is sort of a frenemy, and she thinks she's about to get a promotion, and this frenemy fires her instead. And Lottie was hoping to use this promotion to move out of her parents' house or her mom's house. And so she is now kind of frantic because she's upset that she got fired from this job that she was doing really well for a person who's incompetent, but also like now it screws up her plans. The main male character is Huxley. He is trying to make a business deal. He's like a big shot CEO or something. He lies to the guy he's trying to make a business deal with, saying that he also has a pregnant girlfriend and is so in love. And then he needs to produce this fake pregnant girlfriend to proceed to have a business deal with this guy. So Huxley is trying to hire/recruit Lottie to be his fake pregnant girlfriend. She says no. And then Huxley continues to like hound her about it. And he actually comes to her house and at the front door pretends to be Lottie's boyfriend in front of Lottie's mom. And that's where I DNF'd it. To me, Lottie was like uncomfortably goofy and kind of chaotic. It was almost to the point of being like nonsensical for me. And Huxley felt really controlling and pushy to me. I really did not like him coming unannounced to her house and manipulating Lottie by lying to Lottie's mom. I felt like this was just pushy and creepy and was not the vibe for me. And the humor wasn't really landing. So DNF at 20%. The next title I'm going to talk about is Promise Me Forever by Layla Hagen. I had this on Kindle Unlimited and DNF'd at 31%. The premise is that the main male character is a single dad. He is looking to hire a nanny for his daughter, Paisley. He hires the main female character, Lexi, who is a kindergarten teacher, basically because there's a spark of attraction between the two of them. And then Lexi declares that she has clear boundaries about not dating the parents or, the fathers of the children that she normally teaches, or in this case is nannying for, but the dad sort of continued to pursue her in a way that felt creepy to me, and that's where I DNF'd. I felt like the plot was pretty cliched, and there was a couple like writing moments that didn't really make much sense. Paisley was obnoxious to read about. That felt like overall the characters didn't really have any depth. They were in insta lust with each other, which I didn't mind, but there was zero emotional development happening, and I just DNF'd it because I was bored at 31%. The next title maybe doesn't count that much, but this was a book club book that I DNF'd. It's an old literary fiction title, The Country of the Pointed Firs by Sarah Orne Jewett. I had the ebook and DNF'd at 25%, and I don't think it's that long. This was a book club book that all the old people in my book club chose, and I was just completely uninterested in. I definitely could feel that the writing was the writing style and prose type of the time that it was written. And there's really not any plot to this book. It is meant to be a slow meander through this seaside town and its people. And so I felt like it could have potentially been interesting and good. I just definitely would need to be in the right mood for this, but I went into it uninterested. DNF to 25%. I also hadn't really left myself enough time to read it before book club, so I just didn't really care that much. DNF. Hi, okay, editing Laura here. I realized I forgot a book, so I am jumping on to tell you about the book. This was another book club book, and this was How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House by author Cherie Jones, and I DNF this book at 15%. The premise that I recall from this ebook was that there were a couple different points of view that I had encountered. One of them was Layla. She is born and raised in Barbados, and that's the setting for this book, at least the start. She is quite pregnant. She goes into sort of early labor and is struggling to try to find her husband, who's oot and a boot, and she is in need of help, and so she rings a doorbell on like a rental house, like a tourist rental house, and she hears gunshots inside, and then her husband comes out with like a stocking cap over his face, and he like takes her to the hospital and has to get rid of his gun and is now like on the run, question mark. And then the other point of view was the like wife from inside the house who is now grieving the loss of her husband. I don't feel like any of that is a spoiler because I DNF this at 15%. All of this happens in like the first 2 chapters. So this was a book club book, and it has these multiple points of view, and I was like not really in the best headspace. There was at least one of the points of view was in sort of imperfect English that required just a little bit more attention, I guess, and so I was having to focus more and slow down a little bit, and also it's kind of heavy because we have people like she thought she might like lose the baby, and like we have grief, and we have like some sort of like mystery murder element kind of thing happening. I didn't really leave enough time to read this before book club, and then like 48 hours or so before the book club I was at 15%, and I got an email that none of the old white people liked it and book club was canceled. So this does sound interesting based on the blurb. It sounds like there's a lot going on. I would potentially pick this up again in the future if it was really recommended to me, but I was not in the best headspace at the time, and also it wasn't like super into it, and so I just kind of DNF'd it at 15%. And my last book might be maybe the most controversial one to have on this list just because it is popular, but I have temporarily, this is also the one that might be like a pause for now situation. I have DNF'd The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I DNF'd at 12%. This is an enemies to lovers office romance, question mark. It does have high Goodreads ratings, and it had been recommended, and I'd heard some buzz about it multiple times. But right at the start, I was irritated with the juvenile interplay that was happening between our love interests. The main female character tells her best friend, well, tell him I said this, but he's standing right there. And I'm like, are you guys 12? So that was annoying. And then the main female character was just absolutely against the slightest help or kindness from the main male character for reasons that I just didn't understand. / it just seemed like too much. Like she was just like refusing any help from him. And I was like, okay. There was also a scene where he doesn't stick up for her during a misogynistic, comment happening. And, I DNF'd at 12%. There's plenty of time for the character to redeem himself, but not off to a great start in my book. And ultimately, I just felt like this was really slow going. I kept looking at the percent thinking that I would have made more progress, and I just was creeping along. And it is a long book, so I might come back, like I said, at some point. I think I might have just paused this, not officially hard DNF'd it. And if I do return to this title, I would think I'm going to try to read it with my eyes instead of listen to the audiobook. I guess my question to you is, if you have read The Spanish Love Deception, tell me down in the comments if you think I should continue, because I just felt maybe it was like my mood or something, but it was not working for me. Already in July, I think I DNF'd at least 2 books, so I should have plenty of fodder to do this again at the end of the year. But yeah, let me know if you have read any of these titles before, or if you think I should give them another chance. If you agree or disagree on any of the comments that I have made so far, please let me know down below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.